Okay, so have you ever thought about like walking into a restaurant and instead of seeing a person like a host there to greet you, you just see a bunch of like robot arms just like whizzing around making food?
It sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, right?
Yeah, right? It's like almost becoming reality, though.
It is, and there's a really fascinating article about this new place in Miami called Better Days Robotic Kitchens.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
And it's got me thinking about, like, how robots and AI are going to, change the way we think about food and cooking and dining.
Yeah, well, that's what we're going to like deep dive into today, right? So like you said, robots and AI in the kitchen. I mean, are robot chefs the future? Or is this just like a fad?
Yeah, good question. Let's see what this article has to say.
So the first thing that like jumped out at me from the article was that it's not like robots are completely replacing chefs, right?
Right. It's not like they just threw a bunch of ingredients in a blender and hit a button.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So how does it actually work then?
Well, it seems like there's still like human chefs involved, but they're kind of working behind the scenes. So they're the ones who create the recipes, like, all the flavor combinations and stuff.
So the creativity part is still human.
Yeah. And then they use like algorithms and AI to basically translate those recipes into something that the robots can actually understand and execute.
So it's like a collaboration, right?
Exactly. Like a partnership between human creativity and this robotic precision.
That's actually pretty cool. So it's not just like pre-programmed, like, frozen meals or something.
No, it seems like they're making like gourmet stuff from scratch.
Oh, wow. The article mentioned that a reporter actually went and tried the food, and she was like really impressed, right?
Yeah, she was raving about the mac and cheese and the spicy rigatoni. Apparently it tasted super fresh and flavorful.
I mean, you think about robot-made food, and you kind of expect it to be like bland or maybe a little off somehow.
Yeah, you'd think it would taste kind of like mass-produced or something.
But this reporter was saying it was really good. So maybe robots are better cooks than we give them credit for.
Well, think about it. Robots are really good at following instructions precisely.
Oh, yeah, that's true. So they wouldn't like overcook the pasta or anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And every dish would be consistent. Like, you'd always get the same great taste no matter what.
That's something you don't always get with human chefs, right?
Yeah.
Like sometimes they have an off day or something.
Yeah, or even just like the tiniest variation in the ingredients or the cooking time can change the final product.
But robots would eliminate all of that.
Yeah, and the speed is another thing that really stood out to me.
Oh, yeah. It was like, what, 2 to 4 minutes per dish?
Yeah, that's crazy fast. Imagine like walking into a restaurant, ordering your food and having it on your table in like less than 5 minutes.
That would be awesome. Especially if you're like really hungry.
Yeah, and think about those late night cravings. Like this place in Miami is open 24/7.
24/7. That's insane. So you could get like a gourmet meal at like 3:00 in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah, and because robots are doing all the work, you don't have to worry about, staffing issues or overtime pay or anything like that.
So it could be a really cost-effective solution for restaurant owners too.
Yeah, and that could potentially lead to lower prices for customers.
Oh yeah, they were saying the dishes range from like $4 to $15, which is actually really affordable for like gourmet food.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Makes you wonder if this technology could actually make like healthy and delicious food more accessible to more people.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Especially in areas where there aren't a lot of like fresh food options.
Right, like maybe robots could help address issues like food deserts.
That's a really interesting idea.
And, robots could even be programmed to cater to specific dietary needs. Like if you have allergies or you're on a special diet, the robot could make sure your food is prepared exactly the way you need it.
Yeah, that would be really helpful.
So there are definitely some potential benefits to this technology.
But what about the downsides? I mean, like what happens to all the human chefs and cooks if robots are taking over the kitchen?
Yeah, that's definitely a valid concern. We can't just ignore the potential impact on employment.
It's kind of scary to think about people losing their jobs to robots.
Yeah, it's a tough situation. But maybe instead of thinking about it as robots replacing humans, we can think about it as robots changing the way humans work in the kitchen.
So like maybe chefs would become more like supervisors or managers.
Yeah, exactly. Like they would focus more on things like recipe development and menu planning and making sure the robots are running smoothly.
So it would be like a shift in skills rather than a complete elimination of jobs.
Right. And maybe that would even lead to the creation of new types of jobs that we haven't even thought of yet.
But then there's also the question of like the human touch, right? Like will food still have that same like special quality if it's made by a machine?
That's a good question. And I don't think there's an easy answer. Like, Some people might argue that food made by a robot will always lack that something that comes from a human chef's passion and creativity.
And like the intuition, right? Like maybe a human chef can just like sense when something needs a little more salt or a little less pepper or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And there's also the concern that if we rely too heavily on robots and algorithms, we might stifle culinary innovation.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Like if everyone is just using the same pre-programmed recipes, then we might lose out on the diversity of flavors and techniques that come from different cultures and traditions.
Right. And it could also be a problem for smaller restaurants that pride themselves on their unique dishes and their chef's personal touch.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool that robots can make gourmet food more accessible and affordable,
Yeah.
but we don't want to end up with a world where every restaurant serves the same bland robot-made food.
Exactly. It's all about finding that balance, right? Like, how can we embrace this new technology and all the potential benefits it offers while still preserving the things that make food and dining so special?
That's a really important question. And I think it's something that we as a society need to start thinking about now.
Yeah, because this technology is already here and it's only going to become more prevalent in the future.
So would you eat at a restaurant run by robots?
That's a tough one. I think I'd be willing to give it a try, but I would definitely be curious to see how it compares to a traditional restaurant experience.
Yeah, me too. I guess only time will tell how this whole robot chef thing will play out.
Yeah, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on.
So for everyone listening out there, what do you think about robot chefs? Are you excited about the possibilities, or are you a little bit apprehensive about the potential downsides? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and until next time, this is the Deep Dive signing off.
See you next time.